Lord Tremendous here, and this is it. This is Game 1 of the Lone Wolf GT 2018. Yes, that is my army on my incomplete army on my incomplete display board. Ah, I'm ashamed. I got some of it done though. That counts. You know, I'm closer to being done than I am when I started. Yeah, I'm sorry. I tried to get them done, but I don't paint, and I'm not really good at forcing people to do my will. So I'm working on that. One day I will conquer. Anyway, this is Game 1 of the Lone Wolf GT 2018. 'Tis I, Lord Tremendous of the Varangar, versus James Demigod Valdez, also of the Varangar. Yeah, it's not a mirror match. It's just two rivals meeting in tabletop combat. I love playing against James. I haven't played a game against him in years. I haven't seen him in a long time, and this was a treat. This was really excellent that I got to run into a good friend and play a great game against him in an amazing tournament. And it really was an amazing tournament. I'm not just saying that. If you get a chance to go to the Lone Wolf, take it, because it is a great time. But anyway, let's get into it, because this is a game to start a tournament on, let me tell you. Here's my list, and after playing some games with it, I realized it has some problems. I still have my king on a chimera with Brutal in the Fog. I've got my chieftain with Brutal, she's mounted, I apologize, and has the Staying Stone. This is now Lady Elizabeth. And then I have my two naked Scalds, because I just couldn't find points to put anything else on them. And, I mean, they're just there for inspiring. I also have a Devourer, because it's an amazing monster. Making up the bulk of my army, though, is my Warband Horde with two-handed weapons and the Crystal of Retribution. Right behind them, I have my Sons of Korgan Regiment with Fury and the Blade of Slashing. I have a second Sons of Korgan Regiment with Fury and the Mace of Crushing. And I believe I have a unit of Tundra Wolves, troop formation. And I'm not crazy, I have a second Tundra Wolf troop. They're just chaff. I have my Direfang Rider Horde with Fury and the Brew of Haste, and the Mounted Sons of Korgan Regiment with Fury. Pretty excited about this list. I feel it is well-rounded enough to deal with anything that I come across, and, well, you're about to see how that goes. That's going to do it for my list. I'm going to post my opponent's list, play some music. Feel free to pause whenever you like, see what he took. Alright, so here's the scenario for this round. It was Texas Hold'em. Basically, we each chose two different objectives. The rest of them were achievable by anybody, and we randomly determined one that was worth more scoring points than the others. He ended up taking number 2, which was kill the enemy general, and he did select my king and a chimera, so he wasn't like just going after a Scald. And he chose number 8. Wanted, alive, not dead, have the cheapest unit alive at the end of the battle. I chose Foul Out Their Starter, kill your opponent's highest point cost unit, because I figured it was either his Horde or his King and a Chimera. I wasn't sure, but I figured I could take both of those out by the end of the game, because I was feeling confident. And I also chose number 7. Some people just look better dead. Kill more units that have ranged attacks than your opponent does of yours. If your opponent does not have any ranged attacks, you automatically execute this card. I took this because he has his King, and he's got 3 Magnus Conclaves. I only have a couple of Scalds and a King, so I figure if I could take his stuff out and keep those alive, that'd be an easy 4 points. The river ended up being number 9, stopped the Sooners, and the rest of them were just up for grabs. And yeah, it's an interesting scenario I immediately forgot all about. So here's deployment, and I just realized that I've only ever played against Varangard once, so I'm not really used to seeing him across the table, and I was like, oh, a little intimidated right now. That's a lot of anger. So I set up left to right. I've got my Tundra Wolves in the front there, screening for my Dire Fang horde that's right behind them. I got a Scald over there for inspiring, and my Devourer. Plan was just kind of come up on the hill and charge whatever I wanted to charge, using the hill to block line of sight if I could or if I needed to. In the center, I've got my Sons of Korgan with the Blade of Slashing. I've got a my Warband unit. I've got my King on a Chimera just ready to go wherever he's going to go. The plan was to get him into the Magnus Conclaves to just start murdering those things because it's easy points. And then I've got my other unit of Tundra Wolves out there with the mounted chieftain behind them, Lady Elizabeth. And their job was to fire forward, and the dogs were going to chaff, and everything else was just going to countercharge. Because eventually one of us was going to have to do that. Then I've got my other unit of Sons with the Mace of Crushing, and my mounted Sons right next to them to go up against his mounted Sons, because I felt like that was going to be a pretty good matchup. With the Scald behind him in case things don't go my way. Like I said, didn't really have much of a plan other than try to bait him, maybe sacrifice the unit of Sons so that I could get something else in there and blow them all up in counter charges and stuff like that. Wipe him off the table and drink his tears of sorrow. That is it for my deployment. Here's top 1 after movement, and I got to go first, which was a joy, and everything fires forward. Pretty much the dogs go out to bait on both sides there, both flanks. The Warband moves up 10 inches as far as it can go because I want him to charge it. Come on, let me. You're not going to break him in one turn unless you devote a lot of units into him, and that'd be fine by me. And they're going to countercharge, then they're going to blow up, and I'm going to sweep up what's ever left. It's going to be glorious. So the center pretty much fires forward as far as it can, with the exception of the Sons. They fall back a little bit because I don't want anything charging them. I want the Warband to get charged. The Dragon comes up because I want him to have to move his conclaves or just accept that one's going to get eaten. The dogs come up to bait. I'm hoping that the mounted Sons come out, but if his dogs come up, then it's just a dice contest. I've got the infantry and my knights coming up. Not so far that his knights can charge me right away, but close enough that he's going to have to figure something out quick. On the left flank there, same thing. Dogs come out for bait. Dire Fang are right behind him. It's stupid obvious. The Scald comes up on the hill next to the Devourer to see what the hell's going on. And the Devourer just sits there looking awesome because it's the coolest model in the world. That is it for my movement. Nothing else happens in my turn because I don't do the pansy phase, so here's bottom of 1 after movement, and he doesn't a whole lot. He backs up in a lot of places. His center pretty much stays still. His left flank, they kind of come forward just a little bit, kind of moving into the forest and stuff. He's not super worried about being hindered because I think those are his Dire Fang in the forest, and I think he's got Caterpillar on his mounted Sons on the right flank there. So he's not super worried about anything, and he's not going to take the bait. He's more patient than I am, which is going to be a problem. On the right flank there, his Tundra Wolves charge my Tundra Wolves, which is perfectly fine. It's just going to be a dice contest at this point. And his mounted Sons stay exactly where they're at. He sees no reason to move them, so he doesn't. The only thing is the Magnus Conclaves in the center, they back up so that my dragon can't charge him next turn. And that's it for his movement. In his pansy phase, all 3 of his Magnus Conclaves, I think, fire at my King on a Chimera. He does have stealthy, and he's still able to put 3 wounds through on him. 330 points to put 3 wounds on my model. Just doesn't seem like a good investment to me. But, I mean, well, it works for him. So, whatever. I mean, I know a lot of people like the Magnus Conclaves. I can't get my mind around it. So, yeah, 3 wounds on my dragon for 330 points. He paid for it. We go into this combat, and the dog-on-dog action happens, and he puts 4 wounds on my guys. Not bad rolling at all. And, yeah, that kind of sucked. He begins to roll low, though, and the nerve check, they pass beautifully, and he backs off an inch, getting ready for my counter charge. So yeah, it's a good little dogfight ring over here. Yeah, Michael Vick would be proud. So we go over here to top of 2 after movement, and I decide to gamble. I'm excited to play. I want to see what's going to happen. No holds barred type of situation. And I'm like, yeah, let's see what happens. This is going to be cool. I'm going to try to bait the Valdez. So I send my dogs, my Tundra Wolves on the left flank there, into his Dire Fang riders. I don't want those guys in the fight right away. If he countercharges the dogs with the Dire Fangs, yes, they're going to die. I totally accept that. I'm fine with it. If he charges with anything else into their flank, I've got him, and that would be beautiful. I moved the Dire Fang riders up a little bit so that he can charge. I know his king's coming in. I have no doubt that his fallen are coming in, but his king's going to do some damage. I've accepted that, but I've got my Scald right there. They're 16, 18. I'm pretty sure I can take it. His fallen only have crushing strength 1, so they're going to be hitting on 3s, wounded on 4s. With his king doing, I was like, his king's going to do 8 wounds, so be it. And then his fallen will do another 5, maybe. I should be able to survive that, and then I can countercharge. I'm going to get my Devour into the flank. That's going to be beautiful. I'll be able to sweep up the left flank, turn on his Dire Fangs, and finish him off. That would be wonderful. I have no problem with that at all. So I bait him on the left flank there, and you're about to see how well that works out. In the center, I send up my, Warband with the crystal to come forward because I want him to charge me. Bring it on. I've got my Sons of Korgan right behind them so that whenever they get charged, if they get wrecked, they get wrecked. That's fine because they're going to move in and sweep up what's ever left. My King of the Chimera fires forward in order to put some real pressure on the Magnus Conclaves because I want them dead. I need them for the scenario points. My Wolves and my Chieftain charge his Wolves in order to just try to finish that off because I want to use my dogs to try to bait something else out later, or maybe go after one of the conclaves. I hadn't decided yet. And then on the right side there, I bring my sons, my infantry sons up so that his knights can charge them. I'm thinking there's no way he's going to do enough wounds to break them, so bring it on. My knights fall back a little bit so I can countercharge his knights in the flank, and I'll be able to roll the right flank. I do see McNilday or whatever over there, but I'm not overly concerned about her. I forgot that individuals can spin and charge, but whatever. I'm not overly worried about that. I bait on both flanks, thinking that I'm thinking that I'm sitting in a good position because he's going to come at him. If he does both flanks, that's great. If he only does one, that's great too. And I can roll the flank and start working on the center where the real threat is at. And hopefully have this game in the bag. But yes, that's it for my movement. We jump into combat, and my dice kind of take a dive. With the Chieftain and the dogs, I'm only able to do 6 wounds. Not as many as I would have liked, but hey, 6 wounds is better than 4. I'm not able to roll out of the box or anything like that, but I do waver his dogs, so at least I'm going to get his dogs next turn, but I would have preferred them to be broken so that I could bait more. It is what it is. I guess I shouldn't complain about a good thing. In this combat over here, my Tundra Wolves are hindered. They need 5s to hit, they need 5s to wound, or maybe 6s, I can't remember. Either way, they are able to do 1 single wound to his Dire Fang guys, and that's not terrible, I guess. Needless to say, they're perfectly fine, and my dogs back off an inch, wondering why they're so loyal to people that sacrifice them so easily. So here's bottom of 2 after movement, and left and right flank he takes the bait. Now, I know it's a gamble, I know it could go one way or the other, but I was pretty confident that if he just rolled average, I would be okay. Average or lower, and I'm okay. If he rolls out of the box, I'm screwed. But I hedged my bets. Both flanks, he takes the bait on both sides. Okay, cool. Let's see what happens. Bet. In the center there, his Dire Fang, of course, countercharge of Tundra Wolves. His Horde Brick of Bloodsworn come into my Warband. His Reavers and everything like that. Now, we'll get to the Reavers in a little bit, but the Reavers kind of readjust to look at the King, and his Magnus Conclaves surround him to do, another couple of wounds to him, or whatever the hell the 330 points of wasted time is going to do. On the right flank there, like I said, his Knights take the bait and go into the Sons of Korgan. His named character, Magnilday or whatever, I forgot she was an individual. I forgot individuals could do the 360 spin and then charge. So she goes into their flank. That was not part of the plan. That made me nervous. But she's not doubling her attacks. I don't really know what she does. I was like, shit. So, not part of the plan, but I'm still thinking that I'm probably okay unless he rolls out of the box. And what are the odds of that happening, right? So, that's the end of his movement right there. In the pansy phase, two of his guys fire at my king and do 3 more wounds to him. He's rolling out of the box. This is a bad sign. Two of the conclaves are able to put 3 more wounds onto the dragon, and that sucks. I was not expecting them to roll that well. And the fact that his dice have somehow kicked into overdrive right now is making me a little nervous about my gamble. We dive into combat, and of course his Dire Fang Riders, with 30 attacks, they do 9 wounds to my dogs. Not overly impressive, I gotta be honest. But 9 wounds onto my dogs with no inspiring, they're screwed. The dogs, of course, rout and die, and he changes direction a little bit like that. But I'm feeling confident now because his dice have kind of turned. He's starting to roll a little worse. That bodes well. That bodes well. I'm thinking my gamble might pay off. His Bloodsworn attack next, and needing 3s and 2s, only 9 wounds. Again, starting to roll lower and lower. I'm feeling real confident here. Of course, my Warband can take that easily. He backs off an inch, and next turn, we're going to put some fury down on him. It's going to be glorious. We go into this combat over here, and he's able to put 12 wounds on my Sons of Korgan. I was a little shocked. I had forgotten that they had the Potion of the Caterpillars, so they weren't hindered, and he kind of rolled out of box. The Magnilde chick, she didn't really do anything. I think she did 1 wound, but his Knights did 11 out of 20, and I was not expecting that. So they could still survive this. He needs to roll a 6 to break him, and I got to re-roll, so I'm hoping I'm okay here. I am not. My sons die, and the Knights turn to face my Knights, who are going to charge him in the front, sure, but that was not the plan. That's okay, though. That's okay. He rolled a little high. You know, that's fine. I hedged my bets. I have my left flank still, so I'm still thinking that this is doable. I might be okay. I'm not okay. He rolls out the damn box. His chieftain, or I'm sorry, his king actually flubbed. His Fallen did like 12 wounds to my Dire Fang. I couldn't believe it. 12 wounds from the Fallen with Crushing Strength 1. What the fuck? His chieftain actually only did a few more wounds after that. Like, only a few wounds. His king flubbed spectacularly, but his Fallen picked up the slack, and there's 15 wounds on my Dire Fang. They rout. It wasn't even close, and both my flanks, my left flank is gone now, and my right flank is seriously crippled. This gamble did not pay off at all. I was unaware I was going up against a man who rolled like a demigod, and I apologize. This hurts. So I'm rocked. I'm completely rocked. I know I'm rocked, but damn it, I'm playing the Valdez. I'm gonna try to kill as many of his things as I possibly can. So I go for it. My Devourer charges into his Dire Fang in the forest because why not? That wasn't the hope, that wasn't the plan, but I'm not breaking an 18-20 king with 10 attacks, even if all of them hit and wound, and I have a better chance of going after the 16-18 Dire Fang that have a single wound on him. It's not like the force is going to bother him anyway. My Sons Korgan infantry have now got to turn around to look at the king and the Fallen because I don't want to get flank charged. My Warband charges into his Bloodsworn because why not? It's a counter charge. My king turns to face his Magnus Conclave because for some reason my dumbass forgot to turn him after he moved last round. Completely my fault. I suck. My wolves and my chieftain go back into his wolves because I might as well get some points. On the right flank there, my knights charge his knights because I got no other moves to make. That's it for my movement. In the pansy phase, my king and a chimera breathes his death weapon on the conclave, and my dice, who are traitorous bastards, allow me to do a single wound to the conclave. What the fuck, dice? 1 wound. 10 breath weapon attacks, 1 wound on the conclave. It's fine. I hate the pansy phase. We go into combat, and the hits just keep on coming. Remember how his knights did like 11 wounds or something like that? My knights do 6. They need to wake up. Maybe I should have put them in a microwave or something before the game. I don't know, but I only do 6 wounds to his knights. They're gonna be fine. I do roll like a 10 twice or something like that, which puts him at wavered, but he has fury, so I might as well have just done nothing to him. I can't complain, I do the same thing, but if I just rolled a little bit better. Come on, dice, I'm just asking for average. My warband hears my whining and is able to put 12 wounds on the Bloodsworn. I was so proud of these little guys. They always do me well. I waver this unit with the nerve check, which would have been awesome against any other army. But against this one, he's got fury. It means nothing. And my Devourer attacks with 10 attacks into the Dire Fang, and do you see any wound counters on here? That's because I did 3 wounds to him. 3. 10 attacks, 3 wounds. My dice are devout Valdez followers, apparently, and I did not get the memo. Needless to say, they're perfectly fine. I back off an inch, and wonder if there's a chance for me to kill any of his units before the end of the game. That takes us to bottom of 3 after Moon. Believe it or not, that was my turn, and it was painful. Anyway, I did forget real quick, if you look over at the right flank, my dogs and Chieftain were able to kill off his Tundra Wolves, barely, and they moved forward a little bit. That was it. Nothing overly special. The rest of in his movement, though, is on the left flank there, his Dire Fang countercharge, my Devourer, to show him how the hell you actually wound something. His King of the Chimera fires over my Sons of Korgan to turn and look at the rear of my Warband. His Bloodsworn and a unit of his Reavers charge into my my Warband, and I'm thinking, okay, Reavers, what's the big deal there? I know, I had no idea. How I overlooked him is beyond me. I'm an idiot. In the center there with my king, his conclaves back off so that his reavers can charge me. And again, I'm thinking it's a little troop of 10 guys. How many attacks could they possibly have? There's no threat there. I'm an idiot. His other conclave moves up to shoot at my dogs or my chieftain. I think it's my dogs. I'm not 100%. And his knights and Magnilde or whatever both charge back into my knights. And yeah, it's all over but the crying. In the Pansy phase, his conclaves all fire at my dogs that are on the hill and are able to put like 3, 4, 5 more wounds on him or something like that. It should be enough, right? Nope, conclaves are pure garbage. They waver the dogs, but who cares? There's nothing for them to bait anymore. So, yeah, 330 points to waver a chaff unit. Well paid. I'm sorry, I can't get my head around that. Feel free to flame me in the comment section. I just can't get my head around 330 points to do 11 wounds total. That's awful. That's just awful. We go into combat, and it's gonna get ugly. He starts with this one with his Fallen beating the crap out of my Scald, which I sacrificed just to keep them at bay for a turn. And, yeah, does 7 wounds to my poor Scald. My legendary Scald dies a hero's death and is routed off the table. That was the plan. I just wanted to hold him there for a turn to keep him out of the fight. Oh, gosh. So the Devourer gets a lesson in abuse. His Dire Fang Riders are able to do 13 wounds to my Devourer. Remember the Devourer that did 3 wounds with 10 attacks? Yeah. The Dire Fang showed them why it's a better idea in combat to not be all limp-wristed about it. 13 wounds to my 14-16 monster. I'm getting the Valdez Powerbomb here. Say what you will about Mr. Valdez, but the man, he may be a demigod, but he is not without mercy. He rolls Snake Eyes for the nerve check and allows my Devourer to try again. Look at the hands of generosity as he pulls his unit back an inch so that my Devourer can show what he's learned by this beatdown. So in this combat, I got a life lesson in Kings of War. So I see him picking up dice to attack with his Reavers. I don't know what Reavers are. I don't know how I missed these guys. But I see him picking up like 10 dice, 15 dice, 20 dice, and I'm thinking he thinks he's in my flank. So I look at him and I'm like, dude, do you think you're in my flank? How many attacks does that unit have? He goes, 20. I'm like, 20? They're a unit of 10 guys. And he goes, no, man, they got 20 attacks, Thunderous Charge 2, and Vicious. I'm like, what? They're 10 guys. And he's like, yeah, I know. I don't know why you're not using them. I'm like, because I'm an idiot. They proceed to do 14 wounds. 14 wounds to my king. He routs. He had to roll twice, and he routs him. It didn't matter what the Conclaves did to him. That unit alone, single-handedly, broke my king. I was dumbfounded. I told him, I'm like, soon as this tournament is over, I'm putting Reavers in my list. I cannot believe I missed that unit. This was an epiphany moment. You don't understand. I mean, yes, the dragon died. That sucks. But I was so excited to see that this was an option for me. And I was so mad at myself for not seeing it on my own. Because I've read the book. I don't know how I missed this. Oh, this was awesome. It was the best loss of my king in the history of my wargaming career. In this combat, the floodgates open up, and 18 plus 8, what is that, 25 wounds or something like that? It was brutal, 26, something like that. Anyway, yeah, my warband gets beat the hell up, and then they explode. Valdez rolled an 8 for how many hits each unit took, and the Bloodsworn take 7, and the, what's it called, Reavers took 6. So that should be a pretty easy cleanup job for whatever I might have left later on. He changes facing and looks at my Chieftain, and then the Reavers start looking over at my sons and my Devourer. With their countercharge and Magnilde, the psychopath, he's able to do 9 wounds in this combat to my knights. Much better than what my knights did, but Magnilde or whatever, she really opened up on this one, and I got to see what she could do. Which, she's not broken. She's really not. I was like, okay, she's a nice little support character, but yeah, you know, she's no like super character or anything like that. So 9 wounds on my knights, I can survive that. He wavers me, but so what? I've got Fury, and I'm going to countercharge next turn. So here we are, top of 4 after movement, and I'm not dead yet, but I'm close. I thought with my Chieftain in the center there, my Chieftain, the mounted one, I was like, do I go after the Conclave or do I finish off the Bloodsworn? And honestly, I thought the Bloodsworn was probably close to one of his highest point models, which was one of the scenario objectives of mine. So I did my independent character move or individual move and then charged the Bloodsworn. I'm going to try to finish them off. The Devourer countercharges into the Direfang, hoping to do better than 3 wounds. The Sons of Corrigan infantry shoot forward to go after the Fallen, because screw it, they're not going to do anything else. And my knights countercharge his knights, because I thought about going after Magnilde or whatever, but I didn't want to give the knights an undisordered charge back at me with 9 wounds. He would eat my lunch. So I'm hoping to finish his knights off here, and then I can deal with the little Magna, whatever her name is, later on. I do send my Scald in just because I was having fun at this point. I know I've lost. I'm just trying to have as much fun as I can, and I am having a lot of fun. We're laughing pretty hard at this point. And that's it for my movement. We dive into combat, and my Devourer has learned nothing. He does 2 wounds. 2 wounds out of 10 attacks into the Direfang. I was pissed. Come on! You're a big, scary monster. You're beating on things that are literally trying to give you their points, and you do, what, 5 wounds over 2 turns? What are you, a conclave? Do better, damn it! So 2 wounds, bringing up to a total of like 6. It was painful. I do roll rather well. I think I roll an 11 and waver them. But they have Fury, so it might as well have been a 2. It is what it is. I can't fault him because I do the same thing. My Devourer backs off an inch and accepts the fact that he's going to get cut to pieces, which he deserves for his performance. My Chieftain goes next. He is hindered, or she is hindered, but it is what it is. She's able to do 2 wounds to this unit. Not rolling well at all. But considering they have like 20 wounds on them right now, that should be enough. It is, I luck out, and then I power forward, I think 4 or 6 inches or something like that, 4 or 5 inches, just to try to get out of charge arc of the Reavers, and to get closer to the other Reavers for my future turns. So in this combat, yeah, they're disordered, so they don't get their Thunderous Charge, but they're only able to do 4 piddly-ass wounds to the Knights. Getting ready to melt my dice, I'm not gonna lie to you. They're perfectly fine. I don't even so much as waver them, which, like I said, wouldn't matter, but whatever. And I back off an inch. My Scald bounces off of Mag, and that's it for combat. Oh, just disgusted with my performance. So, that takes us to bottom of 4 after movement, and he goes in for the kill. The Fallen, ignoring the Suns, charge into the flank of the Devourer, the Dire Fang having enough, countercharge the Devourer, because, you know, it's just not funny anymore, it's kind of pathetic. In the middle there, his King, I believe, charges into my Chieftain, and his Reavers charge into my dogs that were wavered last turn, and his Knights and Mags charge into my Knights. So it's all over but the crying. That's pretty much it for his movement. In the Pansy phase, his Conclaves fire at my Sons and do like 4 wounds to him, so whatever, nothing happens. I hate those units, they're such garbage. And then we dive into combat. He does like 35 wounds to me, or something insane. What's 19 plus 16? Yeah, 35 wounds. Plus the 13 that was already on him. My Devourer has 48 wounds on him in total. And you know what? He deserves it for his performance. That was some of the worst rolling I've ever done for him. And I'm pleased that Demigod Valdez is punishing him for his lack of aptitude? Ability? I don't know. 48 wounds. I wonder if he's going to stay. He doesn't. He dies horribly, and we go into this combat over here where his Dragon, or Chimera riding King only does like 8 wounds to my Chieftain, bringing up to a total of 9. But again, the generosity of the Valdez presents itself, and he rolls Snake Eyes, keeping my Chieftain on the table. It's Lady Elizabeth. You don't kick her off the table until she's ready to go, and the Demigod Valdez understands that. He is a generous ass-kicker. In this combat, the Reavers, which might be the coolest unit in the entire game, flub spectacularly. I mean, they are hindered because they went through the terrain there in order to hit the dogs, but they only do 3 wounds to them. Not that they had to do many, but 20 attacks, 3 wounds? Uh-oh, is he showing his mortal side, or is he just playing with his food? Tundra Wolves route, no duh, and his Reavers just reposition like a dece. Combat over here, he's able to put 10 more wounds through on my Knights, and that pretty much spells the end for them. But you know what? They performed really bad, and they deserve this. My Knights rout, and they just kind of reposition to look at my Scald, which is going to throw themselves on their lances because, well, what else can I do? Alright, so here's top of 5 after movement, and I really don't have anything. I mean, my Sons of Corrigan turn to face the Fallen and the Dire Fang that are just going to eat my lunch. And my Chieftain, who is alive by the grace of Valdez, charges into the rear of his Reavers. Not that the rear is going to matter, but I'm just trying to get as many points off the table as I can. Not that it's going to matter for this scenario-based objective, but because it's going to make me feel better to make his victory party smaller. My Scald goes into his Knights, but spoiler, she doesn't do anything and backs off an inch. And that's it for my movement. We open up with the only combat we're talking about, Elizabeth versus the Reavers. She does 4 wounds to them, bring their total up to 10 or something like that, because they took 6 from the Crystal of Retribution, which is excellent. That's exactly what I wanted to see. She murders them to a man, pushes forward a couple of inches, and gets ready to single-handedly win me this game. Here's bottom of 5 after movement, and like I predicted, because I'm a genius, is Fallen and his Dire Fang charge into my Sons of Corrigan, which is their doom. The Knights countercharge my Scald on the right flank, and his King gets in the way of my Chieftain, which is smart, and then all of his conclaves turn to face my chieftain, and the Reavers that are left turn, and Magnilde comes over there trying to get a hold of the chieftain. He's running out of targets, so ganging up on me is going to be really easy, and that's it for movement. In his pansy phase, all of his, conclaves fire at my chieftain, and they're able to do like 2 or 3 wounds to her, which is not impressive at all. What is impressive is the fact that he was able to roll high enough on his nerve check to rout her. So yes, I will give you that. The 330 points of conclaves at the bottom of 5 was actually able to finish off a unit that was already beat up by the king and should have been killed off if it wasn't for the Snake Eyes garbage generosity that he gave me. So yes, I'm sorry. I cannot see how 330 points of Magus conclaves are useful, other than the fact that yes, they were able to sweep up a character that was already limping away. But 330 points spent on cleanup, I cannot get my mind around that. I even talked to Valdez about it afterwards. It was like, I don't see it, and he didn't disagree. He was like, they didn't really perform this game. Not that they needed to, because I was on his team. We jump into combat, and his knights put 12 wounds right off the bat on my Skald. Yeah, needing 3s and 2s, just like my knights needed against him, and 12 wounds. Valdez taketh, and he giveth, and right now he is takeneth it out of my affeth. And then he giveth for his 3rd Snake Eyes nerve roll of this game. He really likes to prolong my suffering. But my Skald is still there, and she is determined to take this knight unit out all by her lonesome. Okay, so this combat is pretty brutal too. 28 wounds later, which I think he did 24 wounds total because they were already carrying 4. So 24 wounds done by this unit, which means that the 4 wounds that the Conclave did to this unit before meant nothing. And I've got no inspiring around because it's all dead. Or in combat with knights. My sons are routed, and it's just one more step to my ultimate victory. Wait till my Skald turns it on and just takes out the rest of his army. So here's top of 6 after movement, and the only thing that I have left is the little Skald that stayed on Snake Eyes, and she countercharges the knights because she's a hero. We jump straight into combat, and she's not able to do anything. She bounces off and rethinks her choices in life. Bottom of 6, he charges his knights into my Skald, and everything else just stands still, because I think he's bored with me now. We go into combat, and I think he's able to put 9 more wounds onto my Skald, which is painful, to say the least. She went straight up murder hobo on her, and she dies a dog's death, which, it kind of was par for the course. So there it is. There's the end of the game. I have been tabled, and if you're clever, you look up and you look at the demigod Valdez acting humble, like I don't know what happened. Hands up in the air, all innocent. It's almost a pious pose, like why did you make me do this to you? Why? I am a caring demigod. No, this was awesome. I gambled. It was a stupid gamble. I didn't realize it until turn 4, but it was a mistake, and he capitalized on my mistake, and in a tournament, you don't back off, and he didn't, and he earned this. Every last bit of this he earned. I have no problem with this loss whatsoever. This was a blast, and if anybody was going to sweep me off the table, I'm glad it could be Valdez. This is excellent. And, the way I see it, I got beat off the table. I got literally tabled, completely taken off by bottom of 6. There's no way I can do any worse in the rest of the tournament. If I get swept off the table in my next 4 games, so what? Now I'm just par for the course. I'm keeping my average. So this was awesome. We're going to get straight into recap because this game is over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
So here are the results from the tournament, or from the game anyway. Neither of us got Buckle Up Buckaroo. Neither of us had scoring points in our deployment zone at the end of the game. He got Kill the Enemy General, so he got 4 points for that. He ended up controlling more table quarters because I didn't control any, and he controlled plenty, so he got that one, so there's another 4 points. I did not get Fallout their starter. Number 5, Don't Embarrass Me Boy. He did not allow me to score 300 more kill points than him, so he got that one. Number 6, Rustlers. He got to be the player who controlled the area within 12 inches of the center of the board, so we got 4 for that. I did not get number 7. Number 8, he got the cheapest unit alive at the end of the battle, so he got number 8, and he got number 9, Stop the Sooners. So in total, he got 31 scoring points, and I got 0. I could have forfeited the game and done better. So there we are right here. He filled out the first tag. Round 1, table 2. Yeah, I don't know why they put me in table 2. Just teasing me with victory. He got 31, I got 0, and after we consult a little chart, he got 20 points and I got 0. So it was a 20-0 loss for me. Very well played by Mr. Demigod Valdez. So, yeah, I learned a lot in this game. Number 1, I realized that my tactics don't work. The gamble, the bait, and everything like that, that was a terrible idea. But if he hadn't rolled as well as he did, I think it would have been a great idea. Could have went either way. Unfortunately, it went against me. I would have worked against the Mortal. The Dire Fang were obviously underwhelming. I was really disappointed they got their butts kicked as bad. But my cavalry on both sides of the table were really disappointing. And like I said, his conclaves really only got my chieftain, and they finished off a unit that should have been dead already by his king. I cannot get my mind around conclaves. I will concede I could see how they could be useful as a sweep-up unit, but take 110 points, give him elite, and just spend 110 points rather than 330. For 220 points, you can get another unit of cavalry or infantry or those amazing reavers. Oh my god! It just seems like there's better places to put your points. Yeah, I'll never forgive myself for overlooking reavers like I have. I've already doctored my lists after the tournament, and I have reavers installed, so I'm very pleased about that. But what the hell is wrong with me not seeing the potential of reavers? I'm terrible at this game. I am toying with putting 1 conclave in my future list, maybe, if I have the 110 points to do it. And, that, again, it's just going to be like a sweep-up unit for whatever the warband might blow up. Like, if I had a conclave, after my warband blew up, he could have taken out the reavers, you know, finish them off. But only 1! I don't see the point in taking 3, but whatever. I'm not any good at this game, so take everything I'm advising with a huge block of salt. And Elizabeth really did some work this game. She was able to finish off the Tundra Wolves. She was able to sweep up the Bloodsworn. She survived, thanks to Snake Eyes, an attack from the King, and finished off the Reavers. She made up most of my points that I got. Well, I didn't get any points, but if it had been kill, I'd have done a lot better. But, again, it was, I was impressed by my chieftain on amount. She really did a lot of work. You know, win, lose, or tabled, it was outstanding to see James again, be able to hang out with him, be able to play with him again. That was really, really awesome, and that's what I love about these GTs. Super thrilled to get to play him in Game 1, and I have 0 regrets. I would grudge match him in a heartbeat. And it's great because I never would have been able to see him again if it wasn't for GTs like this. So this is just one more reason to go to these things. Meet new people, become cool friends with them, and then get your ass kicked by them on the tail in turn 1. But no, this was an excellent game. I really enjoyed it. I learned a ton, and I couldn't be more grateful. I would happily welcome a rematch against Mr. Valdez anytime. And you know what? I think I'm going to make a tradition. Whenever I go to a GT that he's at, I'm going to grudge match him Game 1. Even if the TOs don't allow it. But that's it. Game number 20 is officially in the history books. And what a game it was. The Lone Wolf was a lot of fun. Game 1, even though I got tabled, I was having a blast, really enjoyed it, and I couldn't have asked for a better start in game. I really couldn't. Even if I had tabled him, it still would have been a great game. I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait to show you the next 4 games. So, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But yeah, guys, thanks.